What's quacking, everybody? Good afternoon. It is a beautiful late April day here in Sioux Falls. I decided to venture out to Falls Park. I haven't been here since January, and the falls were frozen at that time, and it's one of my favorite places here in town to go, so I thought I would just show you around a little bit. There's a few interesting things here, especially if you're like me and you enjoy history. There's some cool things here to check out, and I want to show you a couple of them. Check out this beautiful building in front of me here. This is the Falls Overlook Cafe today. It was originally constructed in 1908 as a hydroelectric power plant. The falls here have about a 100-foot drop, which allows them to process about 70,000 gallons of water every second. And that made it an ideal place for this spot. I think this plant was fully operational beginning about 1911. It provided all of the power for the city. But Sioux Falls has always been a rapidly growing community, and it only took a few decades before the town had outgrown the capacity of this place. So even though it was built to last, it's 115 years old right now, I would say. It was definitely built to last, but it just wasn't built to scale. So that's the problem. Today it exists as the Falls Overlook Cafe, but I've never been inside because they are only open for a couple of days a week and never during the times that I'm here. Have no idea what it looks like inside. I would really like to find out, but like I say, they're only open on weekends. I work on weekends and I usually try to avoid the crowds. But as you can imagine, this outdoor dining area has some really splendid views when the weather is nice. And they say that the inside maintains all of the industrial architectural things, and there's like a little miniature museum dedicated to the history of the plant. So I do want to check it out a little bit. I'm told that right now you can go inside. The sign says open, but just the restaurant is not open, only the gift shop. And I'm not interested in the gift shop experience, but I did want to at least give you a look of this building because it's absolutely beautiful. It's constructed of this pink Sioux quartzite. It's about 1.5 billion years old, and it is the primary rock that you see all down around the falls area here. However, that's not really what I wanted to show you here today. There's something even more amazing. I've lived in places that have a river through downtown before. That's more common than you would realize. This is the only place I've ever been that had its own waterfall in the downtown area. I'm sure there's other places, but this is the only one I've ever lived in. If you know of one, let me know. But even if you know of a place that has both a river and a waterfall downtown, that place probably does not have early settlement ruins. And Falls Park does. It has very early settlement ruins that I'm about to show you. And I want to tell you a little bit about them because this is not so much a historical mystery as it is a historical controversy. It's an amazing story, and I want to share it with you because if you like history the way I do, you'll probably find this interesting. So give me just a minute to get there, and I'm going to show you something unique. Check this out, guys. This is the remains of the Queen Bee Mill. They started construction on this in 1879. It was completed in 1881. And it was something to behold in its day. If you can imagine, at one time this building was 7 stories tall, and it was a flour mill. It was the largest mill this side of the Mississippi in its day. And it was the brainchild of a man named Richard Pettigrew, who I often say is the Lloyd of his time. And if you're from Sioux Falls, you'll know what I mean by that. For those of you who aren't, let me explain. Let me first see if I can get you inside, give you a little bit better look, because this place is pretty cool. Oof. Just like that, you're trespassing. So when you first move to Sioux Falls, you will notice that this place is booming. There is construction going on everywhere. And almost all of it is by a company called Lloyd Construction. They've got this town on lockdown. They own everything from apartments to single-family homes, multifamily homes, shopping centers, you name it, they build it. And Richard Pettigrew was very much the Lloyd of his day. He partnered with a banker from New York, I believe, named George Seney, to construct this. And it was about a $500,000 project at the time. And there's a lot of controversy surrounding it, but this was a huge development. This flour mill was 7 stories tall. It had over a mile of conveyors inside. get it back in frame here so you can see what I'm talking about. Had over a mile of conveyors inside. It had communications tubes going from floor to floor, so someone on the first floor could speak to someone on the 7th floor without having to go upstairs. It had this turbine house over here with a water wheel to provide power for all of the conveyors. And it was a huge construction development. They built a railroad track to come to this location. They dammed the river here so that they could divert all the power of the falls into this water wheel to power it all. But it's a huge controversy because they say that the whole thing was just a scam to steal money. And one of the main reasons they say that is because this building, despite being constructed to withstand the test of time, was only operational for 2 years. And the reasons why it was only operational for 2 years are kind of obvious in retrospect. One thing is that farmers in this area, they grow corn and soybeans. They do not grow wheat. And so it was kind of silly to build a flour mill in a location that does not grow wheat. That's why they had the railroad tracks. Let's get inside the fence again. Let's do a little bit more trespassing. A little bit more trespassing. So they had to build the railroad tracks to import all of the wheat for the flour mill and to export all the flour that they produced around the country. So that was one problem, is that vastly increased the cost of flour, right? The other problem, if I can get you back outside the fence, the other problem is that this river is frozen a good 5 months out of the year. And when the river is frozen, the falls aren't flowing. And if the falls aren't flowing, that water turbine is not working. And so this place just shut down for a good half the year. It only operated for 2 years. And another reason why they say that Mr. Pettigrew had scammed Mr. Seney is a story that when Mr. Seney came to investigate the site, Pettigrew constructed a temporary dam upstream from the river. And then when Seney arrived, Pettigrew instructed his cohorts to blow the dam, thereby monumentally increasing the flow of water through the area to make it just something that was too good to be true. And in fact, it was. Now, was that the case? I don't know. No one ever will. It's one of those things that's just lost to history. But most historians don't believe so. They believe that it was a legitimate business deal just by nature of the fact that those two men continued to conduct business for many years after. Pettigrew went on. He was very prominent in this area, aside from being a monumental real estate developer, bringing jobs and workers into the community. He also went on to be the first senator of South Dakota. So Richard Pettigrew went on to become the first senator from South Dakota. He's still revered to this day. You see his name around town here and there. And that's about all I have to show you for the Falls Park area. Get behind me here. Get the sun out of my eyes. That's about all I have for the Falls Park area specifically. You know, we looked at the outside of a former hydroelectric power plant. We looked at the Queen Bee Mill. I do want to show you one other thing, though, while I'm in the area, because if you continue to walk upstream here, you go through like a downtown promenade type area, and there's a little bit of artwork, a little bit of sculpture, and there's one in particular that I want to show you because you'll never see it unless you come here. And what are the odds of that, right? If you do come here, look a duck up. I don't always claim to understand art. On the other side of the river, there's a big-ass keyhole, and I don't know what it's supposed to represent. Maybe one day we'll venture over there and see if there's a plaque or something that explains it. But it was pretty interesting. We're going to meander on through, like I say, upstream from the falls. It kind of winds through downtown and ends up at this promenade area. So let's just take a little stroll, and I'll check back in with you when we get there. Came across another sculpture on the way here and just thought I would share it with you real quick. This one is called Compassion. It was dedicated to a local social worker here in town. I'm not sure why, if she retired, if she crossed over. I'm not sure why. It says that the sculpture is by a man named Darwin Wolf, and it was dedicated to the memory of a local social worker named Fern Chamberlain. And the plaque gives a web address. It is, get back over here so I could see it again. It is compassionprojectsf.org. if you'd like to see, if you want more information. This over here, if you can see it in the distance, is the 6th Street Bridge. It's one of the main streets crossing through downtown. In a few months, that's going to be covered with flowers and floral arrangements. It'll look quite different. Maybe we'll walk across it and take a look. But for now, I'm going to head down just a little bit farther. Okay, so we're about to cross underneath the 6th Street Bridge, which I just mentioned. And as we come out the other side, you'll notice a couple of things. One is an old railroad bridge that has since been converted into a pedestrian walkway. Wow, it is nice and cool under here. I love the way the sun feels beating down on my skin, but it's nice to get into some shade once in a while. But that's another thing I really love about Sioux Falls is all of their old historic bridges are still here. They just converted them to pedestrian use. But just before that railroad bridge, you're going to see this art. And that's really what I wanted to show you. This is an amazing sculpture. As you can imagine, it's lit up beautifully at night. The first time I saw it, I thought that there was something cool about it, but I didn't really know until I started reading about this sculpture. And the more I read about it, the more I liked it. It's called the Arc of Dreams. It's meant to symbolize a couple of things. One is it is meant to resemble grains of grass blowing in the wind of the Great Plains, because Sioux Falls is widely regarded as the gateway to the Great Plains. But it has a deeper meaning beyond that, which you can guess from the name Arc of Dreams. It spans about the length of a football field from one side of the river to the other. In the center, it is intentionally detached. There's about a 15-foot gap there. And the representation here is that this is the journey from your dream to the realization of that dream. And the gap in the center is meant to represent the leap of faith that you have to take in order to realize that dream. And I think that if you've ever had a dream, if you have one now, you probably come to that point. And that's really the deciding point. Did you make that leap? If you did, were you successful? Maybe, maybe not, but at least you took the chance, right? So I really, really love this sculpture for that reason, for what it represents. Quite honestly, I chose this location intentionally to end this video. This is my first video. I've thought about making them for a long time. I'm quite popular in some platforms with my photography, but I've really not done a whole lot with video, and I've really been wanting to. I'm no good at it, but I'll get better. I'm an amateur. I'm doing all my filming on a $30 phone here. Give me a break. But I will get better, but you have to start somewhere, right? I have a dream of producing videos and producing good ones, and it has to start somewhere. And so this video is my leap of faith to get me across to the other side, get to the realization of that dream. So the question is, what is your dream? And what leap of faith do you have to take in order to realize that dream? Look at that in the background. It's so beautiful. It really is. I love it. Sun is a little bright. I should have came out either earlier in the morning or later in the day, had some better lighting, but overall it's not bad. The video is straight dog water, but you know what? We're going to upload it anyway. It is what it is. We're going to upload it, and we're going to try to make the next one just a little bit better. Until then, I hope you have a wonderful day. Keep doing as you do. Quacker's out.